I just bundled 6 properties together, pulled out 500, almost 600 grand out of all those properties, and DSCR loan, 6.5%, 30-year fixed. Every single step that I took felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. The thought of potentially losing my job was really starting to rain down on me. My buy box is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200, 1,600 square feet. The types of homes that families either want to rent or buy. And those are the best ones because lower prices, but higher cash flow because you could rent them higher. The bigger problem for me is that eventually somebody's left holding the bag on a syndication because you buy it here and you hope somebody else raises more money to buy here and it just keeps going up. Right now, people are stuck holding the bag. That's why we're buying them 50, 60% of the market value because they're hurting.
Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef and I am thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to get tremendous value from the gentleman I'm interviewing today. His name is Dustin Heiner. And he teaches people how to buy single family all the way up to 4 units. His website is MasterPassiveIncome.com. And he also has a conference coming up in March. Where's it at?
Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got an asset in Nashville.
Yeah.
Love Nashville. Okay. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, Rod. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I love real estate investing. It allows me freedom in my life. But then I go to the gym every day, hang out with my family. I come on podcasts. I could fly here to hang out with you. So it's amazing to have real estate investing. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So where do you live, by the way?
Nashville.
Oh, you live in Nashville.
Yep.
Yeah, you're where, my Avalon of Hermitage burned down. Did you see that on the news?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I had it didn't completely burn down. I lost a 20 unit building there. I have a beautiful, B+ asset, 145 doors in Hermitage.
Yeah.
Which obviously.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't realize how fun Nashville is. It's that is it Broadway? Broadway Street that's got all the bars and restaurants.
It's a great city to visit.
Yeah.
100%. Live there too. We love living there.
Yeah.
I have a 375 unit apartment complex just south of Nashville, about 20-30 minutes away.
Nice.
That goes really well, and also one in Chattanooga, 350 units.
So that's where so you've got some multifamily assets as well. You told me before we started recording.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us your story? When did you get into real estate? What'd you do before real estate? Why real estate?
So I, just like everybody, have been taught, you go to school, you get good grades, and then you take those good grades, you go to college or university, and you get in thousands of dollars into debt, and you take that piece of paper they give you, called a degree, and you go and hopefully get a quote-unquote career and work 40-plus years of your life and then retire on 40% of what you manage to save. That entire time working at JOB is what I call it. It's just over broke is what you're living. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the exact same thing, but in 2006, I bought my first rental property. I was living in California, bought this one in Ohio, and it started making me money in cash flow. And I knew I needed to be an investor. Like I knew this is the way to go, but Rod, life started getting in the way. And my wife and I started having kids. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 kids. And this is really what shoved me to become a real estate investor. So when my wife had her 4th kid, I had a regular sit-down desk job working for a local county government, doing IT. And we know this was in California too. So California is not going away. Government's definitely not going away. And IT is not going away, or technology. And I got the most stable, secure job I could ever think of. But then my wife had our 4th child, and I went on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the mom.
You what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last piece.
I went on paternity leave.
Oh, paternity leave.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's where the dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers and all that good stuff. Well, 2 weeks I'm off work, but then I go back to work. And in that same week, I go back to work on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. She says, "Dustin, would you please come to the office?" I said, "Sure." And I hung up the phone. I thought, why in the world are they calling me to the office? This is not normal. Mm-hmm. And I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 is not a good sign. And I remembered a few rumors before I went on paternity leave that there was potentially layoff going on in the county because they were having some budget issues. Right. I said, no way. I shook it off. I said, there's no way. I have great seniority here. So I get up and I start walking down the hallway to my boss's office. Mm-hmm. Well, this hallway isn't very long. In fact, it's kind of short, but every single step that I took felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. And it felt like my feet became lead bricks because the thought of potentially losing my job was really starting to rain down on me. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door is closed to his office, and I see his secretary there, super sweet, nice old lady. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? And she's kind of sheepishly grinning at me, kind of consoling me with her eyes, because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So I go and I take my seat, and I start thinking about my life. If I get laid off right now, did I just waste my life following this entire plan that somebody else told me to follow? And then I thought, oh my goodness, we just had our 4th kid. If I can't afford and feed my family, does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy. My forehead gets all sweaty because the nerves are just crushing me. Well, the door to my boss's office opens up, and out walks a coworker of mine with a piece of paper in her hands. She's noticeably distraught, very upset. She passes by me, and my boss calls me into his office. I go into his office, and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did, and this is the reason why I tell the story. So I take that layoff notice, and I go and I sit down at my desk, just getting laid off, and I realize 2 things. Number one, I need to get another job. I need to find another way to provide for my family. So I was really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county. A different department wasn't having those issues. Check. But then sitting there in that chair, just getting laid off, I realized I need to make sure that this never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure that nobody can take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, even though I knew I needed to be an investor, I let life get in the way. I said, no longer will I ever let life get in the way. I started telling everybody, I said, I'm going to tell everybody I'm an investor. Whenever I get asked the question, what do you do? We all reply with our job. Well, when we reply with a job, we're basically telling the world, projecting out to the world that our value that we put on ourselves comes from our job. I realized my value comes from my God and from myself, from my family. So right then and there, even though 100% of my money just about came from my job, that's now my part-time job. I'm a full-time investor. So I fast forward the story. Started buying property after property after property.
Where?
Ohio, Texas, Arizona. Now I'm in Ohio.
You bought single-family
homes.
in other states?
Correct.
Who was managing them?
I hired other people to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started
Were these
buying
turnkey
properties.
purchases?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah, I can get into all of the how I did all this sort of stuff. But I was living in California at the time, bought in Ohio, and just started buying property after property. Each one making me $400, $500, $600 a month in passive income. Now I have 30 plus properties now, and these are single family homes. And with that, I have some making me $3,000 a month in passive income from these properties. And eventually, the last part of the story, I went to my boss and I said, hey, I'm laying you off. This new boss, good boss and all. I said, I'm laying you off. And he kind of jokingly, and we laughed. And he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate that makes me money without working. So the last quick part of the story, I would walk to and from my job from my car, parked 1.5 miles. Done it 1,000 times. The last time I walked to my car, for the very last time, I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never need a job again because I had financial freedom. And for you listening, I want you to realize that you are worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And you'll know this because your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of your pocket. If they paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So instead, like Rod and myself, we found ways to make money outside of working for somebody else. That's why I like the term successfully unemployed, because not necessarily retired. Retired means, maybe getting away and not doing anything. No, I still create businesses. I have 4 businesses. I invest in real estate. But if you put your life in your own hands and build in the value for yourself instead of making somebody else rich, you're going to do very well. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
What 4 businesses do you have?
So I have the real estate investing that I have. I have the online coaching that we have as well. I also, for real estate investors, started that in 2015 doing that. So podcasting just like you, having a long time. Then I also have my events that I put on. It's more of like community events, like big expo, big type of conference, helping real estate investors. And then also coaching for, let's say, exercising, lifting, and stuff like that.
Oh, like physical training.
Physical training type stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I missed one. I forgot to add one in there. We have a software company that helps people to analyze deals, single family homes. It's called Income Builder, incomebuilder.io. And so we created that because my students were needing, there's only so many Excel sheets that like eventually people screw up. So now we created a platform that people go in there and find deals, single family homes. And so just now I have 40 plus hours in my life because I'm not working for somebody else, that I can do whatever I want, hang with my family, build businesses, invest in real estate.
Okay. So talk about when you got started and you're buying houses in other states, how'd you find them? How'd you finance them? And who manages them?
Yeah. So, do you know what's interesting? These are great questions. These are questions that I always get, because most people, when they've never done single family homes or residential, actually in real estate investing in general, they always ask funding. Then they forget that last question, which you asked, which is most important. This is the most important question.
Yeah.
How do you manage them for longevity to make
which
money?
is why I'm very much against turnkey.
But I'm against turnkey too.
Okay.
Yes,
so anyway,
100% against turnkey too. But yeah, financing and funding, those are two.
And finding.
And finding, yeah, sorry, yeah, and finding. So the number one thing for me was I want to make sure, because I have somewhat of a business background. I went to school for business, and I approached it instead of being a quote unquote investor. Because those, TikTok gurus, or even back in 2006, I watched an infomercial, and these gurus that charge you like $100,000 to work with them. I'm like, I don't have that money. But what they say is, find a property, analyze it, you're going to get appreciation. This is 2006, remember? So they were saying, you're going to be so happy, like, don't even worry about any cash flow, just invest for appreciation. And then you spend thousands of dollars to buy the property, then spend thousands of dollars to fix up, then try to find a tenant, and then try to find a property manager. Well, in my opinion, that's backwards. So what I look at is, how do we build a business in a certain city? I invest in Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, Akron, Cleveland, Youngstown, and Barberton.
Those are all pretty close to each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so talk about the process, please, micro.
Yeah. So what you do is you look, so within every single city that I've gone to or invest in, the first thing I do is look at the city. Does the city have good inventory? Like if you go to a city that has like 3 homes for sale.
What's your definition of good? Just plenty of houses for sale.
Plenty of houses for sale.
In the right price
In the
range.
right price point and the right size. Like I don't want to buy a 2-bedroom, 900 square foot, because families won't live there.
Right.
But I don't want to buy a, let's say, 6-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house, because there's extra walls to paint, extra toilets, and all that sort of stuff. So my buy box is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200, 1,600 square feet. The types of homes that everybody either wants to rent, or families either want to rent or buy if I ever want to sell it. It's the most popular type of home.
Right.
And those are the best ones, because lower prices, but higher cash flow, because you could rent them higher.
Okay. So you research the market to see what's there.
Is the city, does it have enough inventory that I'll be able to continually buy more properties?
Instead of just one house.
Correct. And here's a great thing about that too, because let's say you go to a small city, you might buy 2 or 3 properties, but if there's so few properties, there are going to be fewer property managers. That's the number one thing. I'm glad you asked that question, because most people just don't even think about that. I want to make sure that not just making money for the longevity of having a property, that's number one key. We want that. But I also hire experts that are going to do the work for me, finding the right properties, making sure,
So you hire experts. Could you be more specific?
Totally. So they are going to help me find properties, the manager properties. I'll give you an example. So what the gurus will tell you is, just do all the wrong way. The right way, find a city. Find a city that has a good amount of inventory, lots of properties to buy, and then you hire your property manager. You stop looking at properties. Like, you don't need to buy properties yet. You then look for a property manager, somebody that's going to take care of your property. But then they're experts. They're also going to tell you the right areas of the cities to invest in. They're also going to tell you, well, let me say it this way. I've had plenty of people, I've coached thousands of people now how to buy single family homes. I get people say, hey, Dustin, I did what those gurus said. I spent thousands of dollars to buy it and blah, blah, blah. I did everything. And then I went to call property managers after I own it and everything. But every single property manager said they would not manage it because they get shot there. I'm like, oh, you don't have an asset anymore. You have a liability. What we do instead of after you do all that and you try to find a property manager, that's backwards. What we do first is we find the property manager first.
All right. So what? Give me what you look for in a property manager.
I look for a number of different things.
Okay.
Communication's huge.
Okay.
If they don't communicate
what about
well,
their background and/or ecosystem and/or infrastructure? What do you look for there?
I don't even go there yet. First, I look because imagine if you had a company that you built, and then you just see somebody across the street and you just say, like, one way, this is not what you were saying, but I'm just saying in general, grabbing somebody and say, hey, you say that you're a manager, come in and manage my inventory, my money, my business. You're not going to do that. You're going to hire very slowly. You're going to hire and interview many, many people. So what we do first is we interview many property managers. And at the same time, with interviewing all these property managers, we ask them questions that help us to understand, how they work.
So this is property
Communication's
management
huge.
companies, small property management companies, not actual individuals. You're looking at companies that you're interviewing.
It depends. It depends. It's like anybody who calls themselves a property manager. They could be a big company, nationwide.
Yeah, well,
or a
sometimes
small
you'll
one.
see a broker doing it on the side, and sometimes that's not a bad solution because they've got the time to do it. But, as you may know, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long term in 3 states. So, I mean, I've done your business in a 100x capacity.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so, I've hired property managers. I've had property managers embezzle from me, and it's rare that I have a good experience. I'll be candid because they're not sophisticated, but
There are so many people who call themselves a property manager and they're terrible.
Right.
It's easy to just put on a hat and say, yes, I'm a property manager.
No, you've got to interview them. I actually have a book on how to hire a third-party property management company. It's pretty good, actually. It's free on my Linktree, guys. It's at rodslinks.com. It's a
With
free
that many
book.
properties, would you be able to create your own?
Oh
like,
yeah, I
hire
manage
people?
myself.
Oh yeah.
No.
Good.
But I've prior to going in house and vertically integrating, I had used, like in Memphis, for example. I had 200 houses in Memphis. I don't even want to fly over Memphis airspace.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah,
You'll get
I bought houses. Just I bought houses in Memphis, 1,500 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses for $1,500, $5,000, $3,500, and I regret every freaking one of them.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's where I had it. I got a property manager embezzle from me. But so you get the property manager. Helps you determine the markets to buy in, the specific areas of a town to buy in, which is important.
And even the properties, like if they tell me they will not manage it,
they can bird dog houses for you as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, because I have investors sending me deals, realtors, I have deals come all over the place.
Sure.
But I will ask my property manager first. So instead of calling a property manager later after you buy it and say, will you manage it? They say no, I'll get shot there. You call them and say, I'm looking to buy this property. Tell me how much it would rent for. Will you manage it? All the good questions, vacancy factor.
No, that's really smart. That's really smart because they've got their ear to the ground. They know what the demographic is there that'll rent it. They know where they work. They know what the hood is there in that town, and there's one in every town. And and I tell people don't buy D-class assets. And I say, ask me how I know, because I've had properties where people have been killed in them, around them, behind them. Hole cut in the front door to pass the crack through. Concrete blocks put at the end of the street to slow down the drug traffic, not stop it, just slow it down. This was in Denver. I bought a whole block. It was a freaking nightmare. Now, don't do D-class houses, but so you ask the property manager where to buy. Okay, so got it. So he says, okay, pull the trigger on that one. How do you finance it?
Financing, I've used 20 different ways of creative financing. It could be your own money. It could be home equity line of credit, private money, hard money. I've even used credit cards, signature loans, you name it. We look at creative financing, ways to use other people's money to buy them. So, but one thing that I wish would have happened, there was around back in 2006 when I first started investing, that's around now, that is just absolutely amazing, is a debt service coverage ratio loan, a DSCR loan.
Yeah, those weren't around back when
I know, and they're amazing. I just bundled 6 properties together, pulled out 500, almost 600 grand out of all those properties, and a DSCR loan, 6.5%, 30-year fixed. So once it's paid off, it's paid
30-year
off.
fixed.
Yeah, DSCR loan.
Through what lending? What sort of a lender?
I think Renovo is the company that I used.
Huh.
And yeah, 30-year
fixed.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the deal?
I've never heard of that.
Yep. 30-year fixed. Once it's done, it's paid off. And so it's a regular, almost like a conventional loan, but it's for us investors. But it bundled 6 properties together, pull out the money. That's how I bought a $32 million apartment complex recently.
I have not heard of that before.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I could connect you with them if you want.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm not in your space. I mean, in my world, every loan is a DSCR loan. If you don't meet a 1.25 debt service coverage ratio, you're not good unless you do bridge debt, which you don't really want to do unless you really have to.
Well, you get hurt if you do that. The people in multifamily are getting hurt bad now.
Yeah, no, we're seeing a tremendous amount of deals right now in multifamily because people got adjustable rate debt. So every type of financing, same thing I did. Hard money. I had an old woman that loaned me millions of dollars, hard money, and seller finance deals, tons of seller finance deals, and it's bank loans as well. You go to the bank as well, right?
Absolutely.
Do you do any Fannie Mae stuff?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've done Fannie Mae loans. They have a limit. I think, what is it, 10 or 12 Fannie Mae loans you can get? Okay. So talk about some of the issues you've had with the property management, though, because I know you have.
Well, the biggest issue is finding somebody who is not going to be able to take care of properties, and they don't look at you as a customer that they got to take care of. I'll give you an example. Just today, literally today, this morning, I got an email from one of my property managers who I've been wanting to let go, but I'm in a contract, this 12-month contract. They nickel and dime me with so many things. And when I got into business with them, they didn't tell me all these. Now they just, we added this fee. We added this fee. And then they've just done such a terrible job. But I got an email from them saying, well, we're giving you a 30-day notice that we're not going to be your manager in 30 more days. I'm like, good. I'm so excited, because here's the number one thing. With property manager, actually anything in this business, you should have backups. You should already be looking ahead, so you're not reactive. So I already have 2 other property management companies I'm already ready to move to. So as soon as they said that, I'm like, great, let's do it. Now, the bad thing is if you do not overlook your managers and get their statements and verify what they're doing.
Trust but verify.
100%. And because some property managers say anything under $1,000, we as the property managers are like, you're agreeing that we can just do whatever we want. I'm like, no, there's absolutely not. I'm going to have no cash flow at the end, because you're going to be nickel and diming me, especially when they have really huge expenses and they don't get second and third and fourth quotes. I had this same property manager that just stopped working with today. They didn't even tell me. They went and changed an entire main line for my property, the main drain, which is,
well, that's more than $1,000.
It was $5,000. I said, you didn't get more quotes? Anyways, long story short, it should have been a $700 fix. They just got in there and I said, I'm not paying this. You got to get this price lower. So they eventually knocked it down to $4,000, but I'm like, I'm so glad I'm done with that. But that's the thing, is you have to find a company that you trust. And then as you work with them, eventually, if they do well, I have one property manager, been with them for 15 years. I trust them implicitly because they do so well. Now, obviously I check. I'm always checking everything they do.
Really,
they do
when
such
you
a great
bring
job.
them on, you should line all that out. Yeah, if it's over X amount of
I
dollars.
told them that. They said, no, it's an emergency. It's like, no,
well,
it doesn't matter.
Even if it's an emergency, there should be an approval process, and it's always 3 bids if it's over a certain amount of money, and it's
right.
And it's always a written approval if it's over a certain amount
Absolutely.
of money.
But they said, no, it's an emergency. I said, no. A water shooting out, pressurized water, okay, that's an emergency. We shut it off, we stop it. Or gas leak, that's an emergency. We shut it off, we stop it. We do not do a main drain, which is not pressurized, and it's not even leaking. There's no anyways, it was just like, you guys are ridiculous. They're just basically stealing my money.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, and that's the thing, whenever you hire a management company for a smaller asset, and this is not just single family up to 4plex, this is, or 4 units, which is your main wheelhouse, Dustin. It's anything, candidly, where you're relying on the management company's maintenance or contractor infrastructure, where you can't, like I would say probably 30, 40, maybe 50 units or more, where you don't have a full-time maintenance guy on staff. You're going to rely on their maintenance infrastructure, and you really need to dig into that because of what you just described. The other thing they'll do is they'll hire some kid at $15 an hour and bill him out at $100.
I know,
and that's very common.
Yes,
and they shore up their income with maintenance. Maintenance is a real profit center for them.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem in your world. In my world, you've got somebody on site that's doing the work. But yeah, it's super important. The other thing with property management companies is you've got to check out their digital infrastructure. There's a lot of digital dinosaurs still in the management space. And
I get paper checks still from one.
Yeah,
I've been with them for 20 years. They make me a lot of money, so I kind of I just put up with it.
Okay. So that's where you finance them. That's where you manage them. Well, let's, I obviously have done single family in a big way, and now I do multifamily in a big way, and actually other asset classes now, as I started into senior housing, which I'm very excited about. But if you don't know my story, but in 2008, I lost $50 million, and I had 800 houses along the Gulf Coast of Florida here, and I had several apartment complexes. And it was the houses that pulled me down. So I'd love to debate that a little bit with you. We talked about this a little before we started recording.
Let's do it.
We're going to basically debate single family versus multifamily. Now, yes, is multifamily hurting right now? Absolutely, because because of this adjustable rate debt, and expenses have gone through the roof. Payroll has gone through the roof. Taxes have gone through the insurance.
Yep.
Yeah, all that's gone crazy. Luckily, we're starting to see reductions in insurance in places like Texas and Tennessee and places like that, but Florida is still crazy. I settled for almost $1 million here at my compound for the damage I had from Hurricane Ian. So tell me why you like single family better than multifamily.
So I do both. I have multifamily and single family.
Right.
The reason why I basically love playing Monopoly. I played Monopoly as a kid growing up. You start small and you keep growing up. So the reason why I love single family homes is because I've got 35 doors. Most of them are all free and clear, other than the 6 that I just bundled because I wanted to buy more real estate. Wanted to buy a $32 million apartment complex. The reason why I love it, I got 30 plus properties, and I have no headaches because I have other property. Obviously, tiny headaches that come up like today, but I don't manage it. I have other people do all the work, and I have financial income or financial freedom. I can't tell you how much I make, and you can imagine. So let me just give you paint a picture. If you buy
they're
one,
free and clear.
Free and clear.
Okay. That's not realistic for most people.
It took
listening.
time. No, it took time.
Right.
I started in 2006.
Okay.
But here's the great thing. I was making sure I was trying to make $500 or more in passive income. This is after all expenses.
Net income,
$500.
Rent versus mortgage.
Correct.
Okay.
And taxes. My goal
so
was to make
$500 was your number. Okay.
Yes. And then, so one property is $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. That's not bad. 10 properties is $5,000 a month. 20 properties is $10,000 a month, and so on and so forth. But that's the minimum is $500. I have properties making me $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month.
How do you get $3,000 on a property? Is that short term? Or midterm
rentals.
Okay.
Oh yeah, midterms are terrific.
Okay.
But yeah, so when you get 30 properties, I have the minimum of 500. I started buying back then. I still own them, but the rents have doubled, if not tripled, since then. So I make a lot of money every single month. But that's the number one key is I can feed my family with that. Now here's another thing. Thinking about single family homes.
All right, now it's my turn to rebut.
Let me one quick. No, I'm with you. But let me give you one quick thing. Is the financial independence that I wanted. And I talked to somebody, I had somebody on my podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, that they said that they have 3,000 doors at an apartment investing. I said, that's great. How long have you been financially independent and then quit your job? Like, no, I still have to work a job. I'm like, what? How do you have that many headaches? Anyways, that's like, I have very little headaches and a lot of money coming in as opposed to multifamily, which you don't have much money coming in.
Okay. Well, let me circle back to that last piece.
Okay.
But I want to talk about your $500 a month in net cash flow, and here's the problem with that, and it's a big one. Number one, when your house is empty, you're 100% vacant. If you've got even a 10 unit and you've got 2 units vacant, you're probably still breaking even. Okay, so that's one piece. Unless your rents are lower than they need to be, a lot lower, you're going to have turnover. Every time you have turnover, you're going to lose typically at least a month's rent. And that rent is probably, in today's day and age, it's $2,000 to $3,000.
And even releasing fees that you're going to have to pay?
No, yep. More than that. Yes, you'll have to. You don't typically have to pay to release. I would never.
Or to get a new lease in.
I would never recommend you pay to get a new lease in because you're encouraging turnover. If you do that with a management company, you pay for renewals. You don't pay for releasing. But you're going to have make-ready costs, and that could be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Would be very low for a turnover if somebody's been in there a year, and there's got to be painted, it's got to be cleaned, it's got to be. So if you talk about losing, say, and I'll do it low. You talk about losing $2,000 for a month's rent, then you talk about a minimum of $2,000 for a make-ready. That's $4,000. You've just eaten up a lot of your $6,000 in cash flow on a turnover. That's why. When I had 800 houses, and again, I was at a 30% loan to value. I wasn't free and clear, but I only owed 30 cents on the dollar, and I still crashed and burned. And it was the houses that did it. Because every house has its own taxes. Every house has its own insurance. And these were C-class houses that have a lot. You're just complaining about the maintenance. Most of these houses were C-class that I owned. A, B, C, and D. A's brand new, D's the hood. These were C, C plus, maybe some B minuses, no A's at all, and no D's in this portfolio that I had. I had D's in Memphis and some in Denver, but with a C-class house, you got a lot more maintenance, and you just talked about what maintenance can cost. So it's not just turnover costs; it's ongoing maintenance that you're paying as well. And So that really negatively impacts the cash flow. Now, coming back to your comment about, not making any money, cash flow in a larger syndication deal. No, typically when someone syndicates a deal, they'll get an acquisition fee, which is not insignificant. I mean, it can be, 5% of a deal, and even on a $3 million deal, which is a small deal, it's $150,000 acquisition fee, which is customary that gets charged. But that may be the only money you make until you refinance that thing. And so, it's the Burr method that you very, very well, and it's the same Burr method in big multifamily. You buy it, you renovate it, you increase the net income, you increase the value, you refinance it, you get your investors their money back, and then the cash flow happens.
What do you mean cash flow happens?
Well, then you're not paying.
Well, you refinance and pay off your investors.
Correct.
Got it.
So you don't have a preferred return any longer. A lot of these syndications, the way they're structured is you offer your investors a preferred return, meaning they get that off the top, anywhere from 5 to 8%. So that comes off the top before there's a split. And then there's a split anywhere from 50-50 to 80-20 split. Typically the lower number is the operator and the higher number is the people that put the money up. But, so it's very often there's not much cash flow, if any, until that thing gets refinanced. But then it's pure cash flow. But yeah, if you talk to somebody that maybe they've got, 1,000 units, 2,000 units, 3,000 units, and they just got started, it's only been 2 or 3 years, they're just getting rolling. Yeah, the cash flow may not be that much yet. They'll have made a lot of money from acquisition fees, but they haven't made money from the cash flow. But, I wanted to debate this with you just because, in my experience, when I lost $50 million, it was the houses. And in fact, my multifamily, this is the reason I started my podcast, Dustin. My multifamily did just fine. If I hadn't cross-collateralized my apartment complexes with packages of houses to save 0.5% interest, 50 basis points, I'd still have those apartment complexes. They pulled back about 11% in the crash, but they would have survived. So the other piece is, they're safer, in my opinion. And well, based on my experience, they're safer. An apartment complex is safer typically than some houses. Now, on your side of the equation, when you're buying houses for yourself, you're the one that gets all that cash flow. So that's definitely an advantage. But you talked about, like, right now you're financially free because you're free and clear. Well, I'm sure up to that point,
I was paying off those mortgages.
Well, sure,
yeah,
sure. No, of course, you probably accelerated. You accelerated.
My wife said
them.
You can't quit your job until we pay off all
right.
these
So
mortgages.
you were working, you were paying off your mortgages. So I mean that's a fantastic strategy. Okay, I don't want to discount that. The other mistake I made back to your side of the equation in this debate is I had my houses spread out. I had houses 2 hours north of me, 2 hours south of me, and everywhere in between, which was a big mistake. Okay, logistically, it was a mistake. Because what really killed me was the maintenance. So if I send a guy to one of my apartment complexes, you can stockpile parts. That's another big advantage. You have appliance parts, electrical parts, plumbing parts, HVAC, door locks, window locks. You can stockpile all that stuff, inventory it, and they're in and out in an hour. Well, if I had to send a maintenance guy to one of my houses that's an hour away, okay, then they got to see what's wrong. Every house is different. Then they got to find a Home Depot or a Lowe's where we have an account. And I don't know about you, but when Rod's happy ass goes to Home Depot, he ends up going more than once because he forgets something. And the same thing with maintenance guys. So what took an hour at one of my apartment complexes took all day at one of my houses. So the maintenance was a real issue. But anyway, the natural progression that, I have 2,000 coaching students around the country. They now own, I think, probably close to over 280,000 units under my tutelage. Maybe awesome. It's probably closer to 300,000, honestly. We're losing track. But the natural progression is to go from single family to multifamily. And again, I've got I've got 2,000 students around the country that own, like I said, somewhere 280 to 300,000 units under my tutelage, something I'm very proud of. But almost every single one of those started with houses. Okay, they buy a house, they buy a duplex, they buy a 5-unit, 10-unit, and then they realize they want bigger, and yourself included, right? Now you're in some big stuff.
Just like I said,
you're right.
Yep.
So I think that's the natural progression, and I don't think there's anything wrong with starting with single family.
If you could jump right to multifamily, that'd be great.
Well, no, I mean,
absolutely.
Listen, I ask people when I'm interviewing people in that chair right there that own thousands of units, if they could go back and tell 18-year-old self something, what would they do different? Because I know what the answer is going to be every single time, and I want my listeners to hear it from them, not from me. And it's always go bigger, faster. Right? That's the answer I always get.
I wouldn't say that.
You
personally.
wouldn't?
No. Well, the big reason why, because in single-family homes, I love that I control the entire asset. And I have it.
That's a big advantage.
That's huge. And then, so on your numbers, when you were walking through how much, like of the $6,000, you make $500 a month, $6,000 a month in profit, a year in profit. That can get eaten up, obviously, if you have big things, but we have reserves, just like you had multifamily, CapEx and stuff
But it's coming out of Hip National Bank, those reserves.
Well, no, we those are an expense that we are a line item. As we buy, we count for mortgage, taxes, insurance, capital expenses, repairs, monthly repairs. We account for, in vacancy factor, we account for that, and then we add the $500.
Turnover make ready, you put that as a line item?
No, that's, well, yes, a repair. Like that would be the same.
Sure, you've got a maintenance budget every month for repairs.
Correct.
You know,
and then
but here's another thing, though. You know, HVAC is $5,000 to $8,000 to replace the HVAC. I mean, that wipes out your cash flow for the whole year. Listen, I did 2,000 houses. It took. I'm a little slow to get the memo on that, but you know.
Well, what's interesting, I personally in 2006 bought. I think I had 2 properties by the time 3 properties in 2008 happened. And I started buying.
Lucky. Yeah.
Well, but the great thing was in 2008, I bought a couple more. 2009, bought a couple more.
I just kept buying more and more. That was the best time in the world to buy.
100%.
2008, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I made more money because sadly people were losing their homes in foreclosures.
Well, sure.
And then they became renters. So I made so much more money. But we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I shared that I'm excited that interest rates are going up. I'm sad they're going down. I was excited that I hope they continue to go up. Do you know why I want them to go up?
Why?
Big reason why I want them to go up is I don't pay interest on my properties. I don't pay for my taxes. I don't pay for my property manager. I don't pay for insurance. My tenants pay for all that. So I don't care what interest rate is. The reason why I want them to go up, not down, when they go up, what happens is my competition for single family homes, they're removed out of the market. Who's my competition? Not other real estate investors. That's why I coach thousands of people how to do it now, is because we all are not competitors. Who are competitors for us? Homeowners. Homeowners way overpay for properties. They fall in love with it and they bid up everything. When interest rates go up, prices are going to come down, and so it's easier to buy those properties at a discount.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
But multifamily investors, they're screaming right now, oh no, interest rates are going to come down. We need to come down. Right. And that's the thing about syndication, but I don't like, or syndication or multifamily investing.
Well, you syndicated those 2 big deals, I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
I brought in other investors with us.
Because you said you used the money from a refi to buy that $35 million. That definitely $10 million. I was going to say that definitely wasn't enough down. Right.
Totally.
So you raised the $10 million.
Correct.
On it. Right. Okay.
And the way that we do it, or like my 3 other partners and myself, the way we look at it is we're going to try to buy it where we have both these properties are like 60% of the market value currently. We got a really good discount. Sellers.
When did you buy them?
So I bought the one near Nashville. It was probably about a year ago, May of 24.
That's good timing.
And then we closed in March of 25 on the one in Chattanooga.
Oh, fantastic.
And both sellers just needed to really get out.
Yeah,
which is great.
Deals are being sold right now for the debt. I mean, and I'll tell you something. We've got 2 assets in San Antonio, a mile away from each other. We got a 200 unit on a lake, and the property next door sold for $43 million 3 years ago. They're down to 28 now. And I think if we'll buy it at 24.
I was gonna say it's gonna go lower.
Yeah,
it's just wait. It's gonna go lower. And I had a bank come to me and say, "Hey, you want to? We have these assets right here. You want to buy them now and just take the debt?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna wait until
no. I mean, even debt plus fees, they don't pencil out yet because the interest rates they don't pencil out yet.
So my problem with but you're basically, unless you do what you do, which is refinancing and paying off your investors, which most syndicators. It is flipping an apartment.
Well, they'll sell it. No, very often they'll sell it instead of hold on to it.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's flipping. So all of my single-family homes, I can and will literally give those to my kids in generational wealth. I'll literally give it to them. They get stepped up based on all that sort of stuff. But the bigger problem for me is that eventually somebody's left holding the bag on a syndication. Because you buy it here, and you hope somebody 5 years is going to buy it here. Then you buy it here, somebody else buys it here, and you hope somebody else raises more money to buy it here, and it just keeps going up. Eventually,
if you're selling,
like we're at now.
If you're selling.
If you're 100%.
Yeah, if you're
selling. But like right now, people are stuck holding the bag. That's why we're buying them 50, 60% of the market value, because they're hurting.
There's some fantastic deals out there right now. I'm going to tell you, we heard about a portfolio in Texas at 700 plus units for $10,000 a door. Yeah, I mean, you could, $10,000 a door. You couldn't even buy them for $100,000 a door. So, I mean, that's what's out there right now. If there was ever a time to get into my business, it's right freaking now, and it's very exciting.
I'd say definitely right now, but then watch, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
You should be getting in now.
I mean, it takes time to learn. If you're going to learn this business, it's right now, because it'll take months for you to get up to speed. But yeah, no, it's going to get worse. And I think we're right ahead of the Fed meeting here shortly.
They're supposed to drop some rates.
They're supposed to, but I don't think it's going to be significant.
I don't think it is.
Because
there's always some.
Powell doesn't like Trump, and vice versa. and I think we might see 25 basis points, maybe 50, but. The market says 50. We'll see.
One thing I love about single-family homes, among many other things, is a 30-year fixed.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Fixed,
that's a huge a huge benefit. But 30-year fixed is if you're going to live in it primarily.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, well, that's how it's always been up to this point. You were talking about that DSCR loan at 30-year fixed. I've never heard of that, but okay.
Yep. You can get these, and that's
no
what
balloon.
I love. No balloon. In fact, they don't want me to pay it off early. I have
prepayment penalties.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
So you got stiff prepayment penalties,
which is fine.
They must be selling this debt on the secondary market, which is what they did when the shit hit the fan in 2008. And I see a lot of this DSCR stuff, and so it'll be interesting to see if the same dynamic happens that happened back in 2008 with subprime stuff that they were selling on.
Well, the subprime was people couldn't pay those mortgages. I can still pay my mortgage on that. In
but
fact,
what is the DSCR ratio that they use for these single families?
I can't remember.
Because in multi it's 1.25, but I'm just curious what it is in single family.
Well, they were free and clear, and I pulled out 80+%. Oh, okay. 70, 75, 80%.
You pulled out that much?
Yeah.
You didn't feel like you over encumbered them with that much debt?
No, and the reason why is I think the mortgage payment's $3,000. Okay. 2 of those houses, the rent for 2 of those houses covers that. Okay. And I got 4 more properties that are making money.
Okay. Well, listen. If you can free and clear your properties, you're printing money. Okay. So I completely agree with that. I had an old Jewish guy in Denver once tell he was a multi freaking gazillionaire. He had all kinds of apartments that he owned free and clear in Denver, and he told me something that I've never forgotten, which was, if you can buy property and just hold on to it and pay it off, you'll have buckets of money. That was the term he used, and that really stuck with me.
Yep.
I
just got a 15-year fixed on one of my primary residences.
Yeah, now that's
4.5%. 4.5%.
Wow.
Just now. The rates dropped in March. They just dipped really, and I said I locked it in with
4.5% is fantastic. Now it's very common to get 15%. It's very common with banks to get.
Let's say I meant 15 year.
15 year. I'm sorry, 15 year. It's very common to get. That's not uncommon. Oh, actually, it's not super common either. 15 years even is not that common.
They just dropped like a whole 1.5, and then.
What I'm saying, even the 15-year term. Was never that common. Typically, what you'll get is you'll get a 30-year amortization with a 5-year balloon.
Yeah.
And maybe you can have a renewal clause with a bank for another 5 years. Yeah. But that's the typical debt you get when as an investor on a single family property. So this DSCR thing, this is brand new to me. I've never heard of this. So I'm going to look into it. But okay. So
the problem for me with multifamily is the cash flow. And then you're flipping properties is what, unless you're able to refinance and pay off your investors, you're always going to be flipping a property, just like flipping a home. Now, it's obviously you have to wait 4 or 5 years.
Well, you have 2 options. You can flip or you can refinance. I mean, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. The numbers need to be about the same for you to make any profit if you're flipping.
But I just need the cash flow right now every single month. But here's what I did. I got to 30 plus properties, and then I had so much money coming in that I'm now stable. I can quit my job. I can be financially independent. That's when
you were free and clear.
What's that?
When you were free and clear.
Yes, I didn't quit because my wife wouldn't let me.
Right, until you're free and clear. No, that's smart. And another thing you can do is you can buy a few houses and you can sell 1 or 2 of them and pay the other ones off.
Absolutely.
So that's another strategy that you can do. And yeah, if you have free and clear property, I mean, that's golden. There's nothing better than
But
that,
it
period.
started because I had 1, 2, 3,
No,
and
got
I
it.
just kept rolling
Yeah,
it
no,
back
I
in.
mean,
But then
listen.
growing into multifamily, I 100%. I think multifamily is fantastic.
Right.
I just wanted financial freedom and independence first. Then I can get into multifamily.
So when you buy one of these houses or bought them, I mean, this was years ago, but are you still buying now? Are you buying any stuff now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great question. Let me quickly share because you
Okay.
brought up something or a little bit earlier. So I don't have $2,000 a month mortgages on most of my properties. If I have a mortgage, usually they're going to be, because you buy a big house or a really expensive house. We've been buying $100,000 homes, which the mortgage is like $600.
Where?
In Akron, Ohio has been really good. Canton, Ohio has been really good. Dayton.
Okay.
But my daughter, she's 16 years old. I just like coached everybody else. Coached her. She took her life savings. She bought her first home. It's making her $300 a month. I think she bought it for $125. It's making $300 a month. One other quick thing. I, at the same time in like March.
I'm just going to tell you, I have to say something. That scares the hell out of me. $300 a month cash flow could get wiped out so easily by a turnover, by a HVAC going out, by another decent sized repair. That just scared me. I'm just going to tell you.
I'm with you. I know what you mean.
My daughter just bought a triplex. She closed a week ago. Yeah, which I'm
Yeah.
much more excited about.
Oh, I'm very excited about it. That's good.
I mean, I think she's going to be able to live for free. We were talking yesterday.
So
She's
smart.
probably going to hire a midterm property management company. I tried to talk her out of it. I said, do it yourself for a while, but she's going to hire them, I'm pretty sure.
Midterms are fantastic.
Yeah,
I like them so much
for
more than
traveling
short-term.
nurses and
Yep.
things like that.
Executives, other
Right.
businesses.
Right.
So I bought a home for $67,000 from an investor that I know. He's like, I just got to get out of it. And it cost 20 grand to fix up. So I'm in basically 90 grand for that property. It's worth 150 now. And I'm cash flowing, or I'm renting it for like $1,300. So I'm cash flowing at least $400 or $500 a month in passive income from that one property.
So let's talk about when you're buying one of these assets in another state, how do you coordinate getting it fixed up?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they need work.
Everywhere I go, so I invest in Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, and Indiana. And every location that I have a business built, I have the property managers, contractors. So I have all those people ready. And usually I like to work with property managers, obviously that I trust, number one. But number two, that have a crew that would be able to go in there. But then I also, fix up the property. But I also have contractors that I've also found that I can also have do the work. I'd much rather just have the property manager release them.
So just talk about the procedure. How do you do this to minimize overruns, delays, and getting screwed?
Yeah. Well, getting the screwed thing is I'm going to start there. Number one, we don't pay all up front. A lot of silly times people pay up. Oh, I'm going to give you all up front. No, then they run away with the money.
Right.
So he'd probably do in quarters or thirds, depending on how much.
You might buy the material directly yourself.
Correct.
Sometimes you'll
I've done
have them
that.
call me from Home Depot. I'll give you the credit card.
Here's the best way to so pay right. You got to do that. But here's the best way to not get screwed. Is you have other people, because I'm not there. I don't want to be there.
Right.
I don't ever meet in some of these cities that I invest in. You have other contractors or other people that are working on other things verify what's being done. So give you a quick example. I had a sliding glass door being put in one of my properties in Houston, and there was a plumber that was fixing one of the leaks or something like that. I said, hey, would you mind when you go in there, just open the sliding glass door, just does it look good, and maybe take a picture and send it to me. They'll do it. Takes them 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm using, and I do this multiple times with multiple different companies.
Different
people that
vendors,
work with
different vendors
So I'm
checking each
verifying.
other. Gotcha.
Correct.
No, I mean the property manager, I would guess,
100%.
should be doing that as well. But
should be.
if they're
At the time, I
involved in
didn't
it.
have a property manager. It was
Okay.
just all
I see.
contractors. Yeah.
I see.
But your property manager absolutely should be
Right.
verifying all that stuff's done.
Okay. So, but how do you determine the pricing when you're 1,000 miles away?
Because I've been doing this for a while, and it takes time getting used to it. But if you don't have experience like I do, my experience, I know what it should cost. So it's easy for me to do that. But other people, like let's say somebody doesn't have any experience, what you need to do is get multiple quotes. That's the number one thing. It's not just price. But a lot of people think I get multiple quotes, so I get different prices. No. You need different eyeballs looking at the problem. Because what one guy says, a furnace guy says, oh, you just need to replace the entire thing, which all furnace guys say that unless you get a good one.
Every time.
Yeah,
HVAC as
every
well.
time,
Yeah,
every time. But
HVAC as well.
I've actually found, I got 3 quotes. The third guy came in and said, hey, no. And he's still my furnace guy because he's amazing. He said, no, it just needs a stick of bubble gum, you patch it together, and it'll work fine the next 10 years.
Right.
And he did it. It was so great. So you get other eyeballs and other experts, and then you find out who is the right one to be working with.
Yeah, no question. And that sometimes takes time, and sometimes you get your ass kicked a couple of times before you find the right person.
Totally.
And it's that way in multifamily as well.
Yeah, every type of asset class.
I mean, you'll find that with maintenance men. You get one. You try to screen them. But sometimes you'll have a problem there. But you definitely with contractors as well.
I had a contractor that came in, was doing great work, and I was paying him little by little, like as everything went, gave him draws. And then all of a sudden, after $6,000 worth of work, it was water repair and stuff like that, $6,000 worth of work, I paid him another $3,000, another draw. I didn't hear from him. Like, maybe he died. I don't know. I can't get a hold of him. And I was like, I need my money back. So another thing I try to do, I try to pay through multiple ways that I can get my money back. And so if you send an ACH, yeah, good luck. You're not going to get that back at all. But this one, paying through a credit card, through PayPal. So PayPal got me my money back. If they didn't, I would have done it through my credit card. So I have two ways to get the money back.
Have you had problems with occupancy on occasion? I'm assuming you have, where they're having a challenge renting a place. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that always happens. I mean, it's a cost of doing business for any type of asset class. But what I love to do is just like hiring a property manager very slowly, I take my time to find the right one. Same thing with the tenant. I don't just grab a person that says they have a pulse and a little bit of money.
Right.
I don't put them in there. I make sure, number one, they don't have any evictions. I make sure that they have decent credit, not felons, all that sort of stuff that help me to know that they're a good potential tenant. And then in order to keep them in there, I don't chase rents, like keep it at the very top of the market, because they might eventually think, oh, I could just move. So what I like to do is keep it about the middle of the market. So let's say a lot of my houses, they'll probably rent for $1,200 to maybe $1,400, $1,500. So we're about $1,250, $1,300. And that's my goal, because I want them to think, okay, this is a good place. I'm not going to move, because I don't want them to move. I don't want the turnovers.
Turnover is your biggest expense.
Oh my goodness!
Like we just talked
Carrying
about.
costs.
Well, not just the carry.
Everything.
You got the carry. You've got repairs, and you've got lost rent.
Absolutely.
It'll kill a years or two of profit on a house, and that's my whole argument for doing multi instead of single.
One thing that you mentioned, I agree. Multifamily is fantastic.
Right.
What I view now, I think 30 plus properties I have, because if you say, okay, if one house is not rented, then it's not making money. I'm like, yeah, but I got 30 properties.
Well, yeah, if they're free and clear, who gives a shit?
Well, yes and no, but I got 30 properties. So think of it like a 30 property portfolio that if one's not rented, it's okay.
Well, sure, you still got income coming in. Got it. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So when I look at multifamily right now, I see a lot of people, a lot of investors having problems, syndicators having problems because interest rates, and they can't refinance and they can't sell, and it's just going bad. And where do you think the market's going to be going for that? But at the same time, how do you mitigate the problems? Because I'm just like worried that I have other people that I know that are investing in deals. There's capital calls, there's stopping distributions, and it's getting really, really tough. And they're losing money. So like right now, I'm excited to buy real estate, but I'd hate to be owning bad assets right now. What are your thoughts about that multifamily?
Yeah, no, listen, I look at crisis as an opportunity. And right now, large multifamily is in a crisis place because of adjustable rate debt, because of expenses. Typically an expense ratio for multifamily assets, 50%. We're seeing 60% be the norm now, which really kills cash flow. We're talking multi-million-dollar deals. And because the interest rates have gone up, the values have gone down. And so it's created the perfect storm, because in the big multifamily space, you don't have 30-year financing. You have a 3-year window, 5-year window, 10-year window. There's $1 trillion in debt coming due right now. And the people that have that debt coming due have two options. They either have to refinance or they have to sell. Sales are down 95%. So selling is very, very hard. And refinancing, they have to meet debt service coverage requirements, which they can't meet because of the interest rates. So it's a fantastic opportunity to pick up assets right now at a great discount, like we talked about earlier. So, again, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it, it's bad for the operators going through it. I'll be honest, I've got a couple assets that are in trouble from a partner got me into. Nobody's immune from it. I know super successful, sophisticated operators. Just about every person I know is having challenges right now. And even losing a property here or there, and so, the market is in a meltdown in my space, but it's, again, with crisis comes opportunity. So I look at it through rose-colored glasses, because like you said, you kicked ass in 2008, 9, and 10 because you're buying properties that are heavily discounted. That's why you have a bunch of free and clear properties. That I'm sure played a role in that process. Well, that's happening right now in my world. Okay, so again, very exciting. I got my ass handed to me in 2008 and 9 and got crushed by that wave. I'm surfing this one. So, that's the difference. But
I guess for me, looking at the people who are in the hurting spot right now, because I know some big people who have, big communities and doing all this real estate investing that they stopped distribution. They've even did capital calls.
Oh yeah, distributions have stopped. Capital calls have been going on for the last year.
So those investors are stuck now.
There's a lot of investors losing a lot of money right now. A lot of money. And that's no fun.
Yeah.
But again, I could focus on that, or I could focus on the fact that there's opportunity. I like to focus on the positive.
Oh, 100% with you.
Yeah. So, I think there's going to be. I know there's incredible opportunity. Some of the things I just described, 10,000 a freaking door for an asset in Texas. I mean, come on. And I think that we're heading into a time, and I don't think the interest rate reduction is going to have that much of an impact and slowing this really train wreck down. I think, and I don't want to get too political, but I tell you, if the Supreme Court doesn't align with Trump on the tariffs, I think we're headed for some serious pain in this country. $37 trillion in debt. So I'm praying to God the Supreme Court negates that appellate decision that came through that's now at the Supreme Court regarding his tariffs.
My point is, or my thought is, the courts don't have any opinion. Like it's not a legal. There's no crime. There's not no. They don't have any jurisdiction over it. That's my perspective.
Well,
it's like he's supposed to be able to do this sort of stuff.
We're in some crazy times.
We are.
With Charlie Kirk.
Oh
my God, isn't that horrific?
Yeah.
Just absolutely horrific.
And it's one quick thing about Charlie Kirk. It's looking like the shooter wasn't in front of him. It looks like it from behind.
What?
Yeah. When we're done,
there's some crazy stuff happening. I've been watching Candace Owens talk about the Israeli connection and things like that.
I know.
So there's some crazy shit.
I've been following that. We'll chat offline. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But anyway, well, listen, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, Dustin, and I really appreciate you coming down here for that. And I'll have to ping you the next time I'm in Nashville because I'm up there for my asset all the time. So.
Sounds good, Rod. Thank you so much for having me on the show.